After 230 years of the New York Stock Exchange being in existence, Congress is just now getting around to forming a bill that will ban all senators and all representatives from trading in both the stock and cryptocurrency markets. This move is incredibly warranted. Many of our congressmen and women have profited from insider information that they've received on their posts that would ultimately bring charges to any everyday citizen like you and I. And sadly, it doesn't matter where the politician falls on the spectrum. They all act like they're above the law. Many of them use their position, in fact, to escape the law. At the beginning of the pandemic, there were 4 senators that were given inside information about the virus. Those senators were Richard Burr, Kelly Loeffler, Jim Inhofe, and Dianne Feinstein. Those 4 made up the Senate Intelligence Committee. Keep in mind that these are senators who sit on both sides of the political aisle. 2 of these senators would actually publicly go on to downplay the effects of this not-to-be-named virus. They did this in order to sell off their financial holdings before the market fell by a whopping 34% in just 3 weeks. Not a single one of these senators was charged with insider trading or securities fraud. However, unsealed court documents show that FBI agents who were in charge of investigating these allegations believe there was probable cause. You know what they also found? They found that those of you that don't hit the like button on this video are committing a crime against humanity. So go ahead and smash that like button for me, please. The initial panic from the news of the pandemic was so bad that it initiated a level 1 trading curb on the stock market. A level 1 trading curb is a complete halt on trading when the threshold reaches a 7% drop. That threshold was reached in the first 15 minutes of trading on March 12th, 2020. It was the greatest drop in single-day history since 1987's Black Monday. However, back then, there weren't circuit breakers that could be pulled to halt trading. Who knows what would have happened in 2020 had those breakers not been pulled and trading not halted. Either way, the market was in bad shape. Blue-collar workers were not only being forced to stay home, their retirements were crumbling overnight as the market was cratering. Many people around the country were either forced to stay beyond their retirement dates or go back to work. This is all while scumbag politicians walked away with millions of dollars before the fall. The market is still in shambles to this day, with no end in sight. And the people that are affected the most by this are paying the salaries of these crooks. Like what? As a side note, I still don't quite understand why toilet paper was the first thing to sell out in grocery stores. Were people making homemade masks with their ultra-soft Charmin 2-ply? Maybe they were all originally planning to go and wrap politicians' homes, but whenever they saw that they were selling out everywhere, they decided to just sell it on the secondary market like eBay. Lord knows they weren't working, so they had to get money from somewhere. Anyway, I digress. Not only are the things that I've already mentioned about these leeches atrocious, when you really stop to think about some of the legislation that has either passed or hasn't, you really have to question, did Congress members' personal portfolios play any role in specific bills that were passed into law? For instance, large tech companies like Twitter, Facebook, Google, and Apple hold massive amounts of power to limit free speech and push narratives that they see fit. Certain words that hurt their fragile ego result in bans on their platforms. Certain parties get censored when these tech giants don't like what the other factions say. They do all of this while claiming protection under Section 230. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act protects online platforms from being treated like publishers. This is as long as they engage in good Samaritan moderation of content posted. That means that if someone were to say something on their platform that's illegal, like for instance libellous or defamatory, the social media platform wouldn't be held liable for any lawsuits brought forth. However, tech companies have used this to not only censor certain posts that they don't deem fit, they have even gone as far as banning accounts that they don't like. Now, I'm all for ripping out liars, thieves, and cheats, but it needs to be on an even playing field. My point that I'm trying to make is people like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have actively stood in the way of reforming these types of laws, all while raking in millions of dollars on these tech stocks. She also happens to be married to a venture capitalist. I wonder if she ever talks to her husband about some of the privileged information that she receives from her job. Silly me. She would never do that because that would be insider trading, and that's absolutely illegal. What I will say is that Mark Zuckerberg has personally called her on occasion. What's that about? Is there some sort of correlation there? Who knows? If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, you guys know the rest. And don't even get me started on how these politicians disclose their financial holdings. Some of these dinosaurs still turn in sheets of paper written in ink of illegible cursive. What year is it? 1888, the year the ballpoint pen was invented? If only there were verifiable digital public ledgers out there available that they could use. Of course, then it would be a lot more difficult to claim negligence on accounts of fraud, and we certainly can't have that. Politicians have a certain standard to maintain after all. To endorse any type of transparency would probably cause them to burst into flames. I will say that there's currently a bipartisan legislation in the works that requires them to turn in a 2-page digital form, but I also wonder why that's taken so long. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please be sure to hit that like button. It really helps me out, and if you haven't already subscribed, you're missing out on daily crypto content. Just saying. But that's going to be all for this video, guys. Crypto Clay, out.